Tao. Understand how one flows into another. Constantly everything is flowing into another. Subjectively, some things flowing into the other subjectively, others are flowing objectively. Subjectively, letters flow into words. A composition of letters becomes a word, and a composition of words become a sentence, and a collection of sentences becomes a paragraph, and so on and so forth. Subjectively, as letters flows into words and words flow into sentences, and as objectively circles flow into worlds and worlds flow into principles, find at last these converging into our being. A word flows into, a letter flows into word flows into a sentence, and a sentence flows into a paragraph, and this becomes a message. At last, find these converging into your being. This is subjectively. There are certain things which are flowing into the other subjectively. Others are flowing objectively, circles, worlds, principles. That too, this is an imaginative technique. The ego is always afraid of being vulnerable, open, afraid something may enter or destroy it. So ego creates a barrier around it. If you start living in the walled prison, and then ego creates a barrier around, and it creates a prison, and you live within that. Nothing should be allowed to enter in you. You are afraid. If something comes in and disturbs, then what to do? So it is better not to allow anything to come in. You allow someone to come into your boundary, and then you want to find out how to not allow it to disturb. So it is better not to allow it to come in at all. All communications stop. Even with those you love or think that you love, really there is no communion. There is no communication. Words do not communicate. It is the silence that communicates. At least for a certain period of time, every day, cut off yourself completely from any kind of communication. I'm talking about communication even with you. Otherwise, you see the people walking on the streets and they are in conversations with themselves. Look at a wife and a husband talking. They are not talking to each other. There is no communication. Rather, they are avoiding each other through words. This may sound to you strange, but this is the reality. They are not talking to each other. There is no communication. Rather, they are avoiding each other through talks. Don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to hear anything from you. Do not touch me. Constant words are flowing, but there is no communion. There is no communication. They are talking so that the communication can be avoided. Don't talk to me. Don't come and sit near me. I don't want anything from you. Nobody is asking you anything. This is what happens. In silence, and if they are silent, they do not want to talk. The wife keeps on telling, don't touch me, don't talk to me, I don't want to see you. But at the same time, they are vulnerable. If they are silent, they will remain vulnerable. The inner dialogue will continue. In silence, they will become closer if they are silent. Because in silence, the ego, the wall will not be there. Try with this. When these things are happening, your spouse continues to say, don't touch me, I don't want anything from you. Can I give you a glass of water? I don't want anything from you. Instead of saying all these things, you just remain silent. And in that silence, the ego cannot exist. All the barriers, all the prison walls have been removed completely. So the husband and wife, they are never silent. Only lovers can be silent. The husband and wife, they are constantly a chatterbox. They will be talking about something or the other just to fill in the gaps of the time, just so that not to open each other, we are afraid of the other. So, does it not happen? I have heard about Mullah Nasruddin. One day he was just walking out of his house. His wife said, Nasruddin, have you forgotten what day is today? Nasruddin knew about it. It was their 25th wedding anniversary. So he said, I know it well. Wife persisted. Then how are you going to celebrate it? So Nasruddin said, darling, I do not know. And then he scratched his head, looked puzzled, and said, how would it be if we keep 2 minutes silence to celebrate it? Can lovers and beloved sit for 2 minutes silence, not speaking to one another, just looking into each other's eyes, feeling each other's presence, maybe holding the hands so the energy forms a complete cycle and begins to flow into one another? You cannot remain silent with someone. You begin to feel restless. In silence, the other enters you, and you do not want the other to enter into you, be it your husband or wife. You are open. Your doors are open in silence. In ego, the walls are created. Doors are closed. Barriers are there. But in silence, your doors, your windows, walls, everything is open. So you are afraid. You go on talking, go on creating devices to remain closed. You realize the moment you observe a few minutes silence with your spouse, love deepens. You have never experimented this. Experiment this and you will know. There is no need. Love needs no communion, no way to commune. Love needs simply silence, absorbing one another, flowing into one another. The ego is an enclosure. It is a prison. And prison is accepted because we are so insecure, so afraid. The prison gives a certain feeling of security. You are protected and guarded within the four walls of the prison. Do this technique. This is another technique. The first and the basic thing is know well life is insecure. Nothing is stationary or permanent. There is no way to make it secure. Whatsoever you do is not going to help. You can create only a fiction of security, a false belief of security. Life remains insecure each moment. Each moment, and insecurity is the greatest blessing. It is the very nature of life because death is involved in it. So, how can life be secure? And think for a moment, if life is really secure, anything that is secure, that will be dead. An absolutely, totally secure life can never be alive because the very adventure is lost in security. If you are protected from all dangers, you will be dead. You will not make any efforts on your own. In the very being of life, there is adventure, danger, insecurity. Death is involved. Any moment, anything can happen. You can remain alert and awake in that moment. I love you. I have entered a very dangerous path. Now nothing can be secure. But now I will try to make everything secure. But tomorrow I will kill everything that is alive. Because only then I can feel secure tomorrow also. Then what happens? Love is very vulnerable. So you transform love into marriage. Marriage is security. At least you have a legal security. You can claim for the maintenance allowance. Marriage is a security. Love is insecure. You do not know what is going to happen next moment. So you are not concerned about this moment. You are only concerned about the next moment. Everything can change. And you have invested so much. And in the next moment, the beloved leaves you, or your friend leaves you, and you are left back in a vacuum. Love is insecure. You cannot fix the future. You cannot decide what will happen next moment. So live. Life is insecure and you want to have security in it. And that security in love is provided by marriage. With marriage, you can be secure, it is predictable. Your wife will be your wife now, tomorrow, and the next day. Your husband will always be called your husband, no matter what happens between both of you. The husband will be your husband in future as well, but just because you have secured it, and now there is no danger, it becomes dead. Relationship becomes dead. The relationship is dead now. There is no communion. And that becomes the greatest problem. So you seek the assistance from this and that. Change is the very nature and the very quality of life. And in change, there is insecurity. That's why you do not want any change. Those who want to go enter deeper into deeper realms of life must be ready to feel insecure, must be ready to be in danger, must be ready to move into the unknown, and must not try in any way to fix the future. Think of this moment. If you have lived this moment totally with awareness, out of this will evolve the next moment. If you are thinking about the next moment, this moment is lost, and the nutrition, the value that can come from this moment flow into you will not be there. Now you are waiting for the next moment. This morsel that is in your mouth, this particular moment, the morsel is a moment in your mouth. As it is chewed and it goes down the esophagus, mixes with the saliva and the digestive juices, it begins to nourish and nurture your body. So too, your understanding in this particular moment, when it is digested and goes deep within you, it provides you a kind of a nourishment that will remain for the next moment. So do not worry about the next moment now. Live this very moment. The very effort is not right. Neither light enters nor air enters. No one enters. You have created a prison cell. You are secure in a way that, but you are not living. Security does not mean that you are living. You are not courageous. You have simply created the barriers. You have closed from everyone. You are not going to talk to anyone about love. You are not going to hold anybody's hand. So everything is secured. But are you really living? Are you really overflowing? No, you are not. So this particular technique is possible if you are a vulnerable, open, not afraid, because this is allowing the whole universe to enter into you. That's why I said in the beginning, subjectively a letter flows into a word. Certain combination of letters become a word. Certain words put in a sequential order become a sentence. Sentences put together in a particular theme becomes a paragraph. A paragraph flows into a chapter. A chapter flows into a book. So this is a sequence. A letter is not afraid of entering a word. Is it? A word is not afraid of entering into a sentence. And a sentence is not afraid of entering a paragraph. It does not know whether I will fit in that or not, but it fits in. A letter flows and fits into to form a word. A note flows into the another to create a melody. If a note is not flowing into another, can there be a melody? If a particular spice is not blending, not flowing into the other, can it merge? You take the oil and add the water to it. Can water flow into the oil? But and they will remain separate, like a husband and wife, oil and water. But if you add something to it, a spice blend or something, and then you add water, does water remain separate? What does water do? Water helps the process of assimilation to happen. you are preparing the gravy for something. You are blending everything, a letter, a word, a sentence, a paragraph. So you are mixing water, ginger garlic paste, the spice blend, the other things. So if you mix just water and oil, will it mix? But when everything is put together, just as in music, you add flow one note into the another. You add bass, you add other devices that you understand very well. It becomes a melody. So when that water that you have added to it, it will protect the spice blend from burning. It will allow it to assimilate into one another. The quality of one flows into another. Otherwise, how can tomato paste, ginger garlic paste, spice blend, maybe if you are using the turmeric, coriander and chili powder, how can they mix with one and flow into one another? How can a husband flow into one to an wife, or how can one flow into another? You need something for something to blend. So it flows, and you understand this. As a musician, you will understand a note flows into another. And when the notes are arranged in a particular manner, it becomes a melody. Then you add to this, garnish it with bass. You garnish with a particular kind of a flow. You allow the fading at the end. That is the final garnishing of the dish when it goes out on the table. It is served to the table. So subjectively, a letter flows into a word, word flows into a sentence, and so on and so forth. Now, objectively, there are certain things objectively. The circles flow into words, and words flow into principles. So in a way, everything is converging into our being. Now let us put it one thing as a word. One thing. You are cooking a dish. You have different ingredients. And if that gravy that you are making, the vegetable, is the being, for instance, imagine what it is happening. The water, the spice blend, ginger garlic paste, tomato paste, the fenugreek leaves, all are merging into one another, flowing into one another. Are they flowing into one another and creating a blend? So then you are adding the vegetables or the meat products that you are cooking. So the gravy is the being wherein everything flows into it, because the pot is the one where gravy is being made. It is the spice, everything goes in a process. First this goes, and then so everything is flowing into the being, that is the gravy that you are making. The vegetables, the garnishings, the salt, the sweetest thing, everything is flowing into it, converging into that. It's not diverging from there. That is the point. Converge means when everything is converging into one pot. The pot is a point, or where everything, the salt, the oil, the water, the spice blend, the coriander, the turmeric, the chili powder, the other garnishings, and the other condiments. Then when it is ready, then something else flows into it. The vegetables are flowed into it. When vegetables are flowed into it, you add a little more water. So everything is, the center of attraction is that pot where everything is cooking. Now, take as a musician. First, there is vocals, that these vocals are now flowing into the notes. Two ways it can happen. Lyrics can be written first, and then they are flowed into the being of the notes, or the notes are created, the melody is created first, then melody is flowed into the words, the lyrics, and combination of the two creates a beautiful composition, Beethoven's composition or a particular singer's composition. So each note flows into the other, and then notes flow into melody, melody flow into the song, then rhythm, the bass, and all these things flow into one another. In the same way, everything, imagine everything is flowing into your being, everything converging in my being. I am standing under the open sky, and the whole existence from everywhere. The breeze flows into you, the sunlight flows into you, the raindrops flow into you, the sound of the birds chirping, the rustling of the tree leaves, the cricket chirping, everything is flowing into you. From every nook and corner is converging into me. Your ego cannot exist. Don't you feel relaxed when you are standing in place? When the sunlight, the warmth is flowing into you, or when it is snowing, the cold is flowing into you, the breeze is flowing into you, the occasional light flows into you, the sound of the thunder and lightning flowing into you. Are you not open? But when you are sitting in your bedroom, in your living room, on the couch, with your spouse, everything is closed, nothing is flowing into one another. In that openness, where the whole existence is converging into you, can you remain as I am? You will exist as an open space, but not as a crystallized I. The ego is not crystallized then. Everything is flowing into you. To do this technique, you have to follow a small step. I will take this in tomorrow's session. How can you use these simple techniques to be open and vulnerable and allow everything to flow into you, just as a musician allows all the notes to flow into one another, and through his technique, he allows them to become a melody. You have to allow everything to flow into you, just as a chef allows everything to converge into the pot in a sequential way and creates a tasty, savory, pleasing to the eyes, pleasing to the nostrils, smell, pleasing to taste buds, pleasing to in a way because that particular dish satiates you. How to do this? To do this technique, we will start a simple meditation technique that I will take tomorrow's session. Until then, take care and do have a pleasant day.